What is going on, everybody? Wally here, and in today's video we're going to have a little lore synopsis on Golgoroth. I'll have a link to the video in the description, as well as some kind of annotation popping up on screen right now where you can go watch the actual lore video I did on Planet Destiny. So the first thing I want to talk about is I actually want to read a portion of the card to you to give you an idea, and I'll go through my methodology really of building up this character and my interpretation of it. So it says here, you, Ab-Zol, you teach the new flesh out of the old. Zol issued you to eat us. The new flesh will be the testament. O ear, decree the shape of this new thing. Judge its testament to the last truth. The new shape is Golgoroth. So right there, from my interpretation, is you have three hive gods, potentially just two hive gods, discussing and really laying down commandments to Oryx. And I pictured this more as less as like a church or a synagogue or some kind of temple where you have Oryx maybe kneeling or something like that, and he just has these hive gods, these worm gods, really there on pedestals just talking to him and issuing down these tablets. And that's sort of what they call them. They call them tablets. And really, I don't think that they're straight tablets. I don't think they're actual like a physical thing. I think it's like an essence, and that was my interpretation. I could be completely wrong, but again, I tried not to get too technical in the video because I know there's a lot of people out there that want specific information, and oftentimes I either don't do the proper amount of research or I just make mistakes, and I wanted to avoid that as much as possible. So my interpretation was that these tablets are commandments or essences. And the reason I kind of drew that line is that if you kind of go back into Christian theology a little bit, at least what I learned when I went to high school was that the notion that the Bible and a lot of the written works were the breath of God. And it's influenced by God, but written by man. So the Bible and everything like that is not necessarily God's actual word. It's written by him, or it's written by humanity, but influenced by him. And so this is sort of the same thing. So it's the essence of the worm gods being placed into Golgoroth. And I found that very interesting because he's designed to be the apex ogre. He's designed to be the ultimate creation with the help of the worm gods or the hive gods. And from what we understand, at least from all the lore that's been given us so far, that has not come up at all. So the only real influencer that we actually see is Oryx, maybe a little bit of Crota too, but these worm gods are not very, they don't necessarily have too much to do with the actual underlings of Oryx. They operate with Oryx and perhaps Savathun and a couple other people, but they don't exactly mess around with ogres and knights and thralls too often. So it's very interesting to see that this is sort of something given to Oryx that Crota specifically wanted. He denied it to Crota because his relationship with his son is sort of like, if you ask for something, I'm not going to give it to you kind of thing. And he instead infuses it into this ogre. And this ogre is supposed to be, again, this apex killing machine that's supposed to be the best ogre, the best weapon that they can have. The questions that I had and the questions that I sort of laid out in that video were, does Oryx have complete control over this? And to a certain extent, I would say no, because it looks like a standard ogre. Doesn't look like it's taken. But it does have this incubation room, or this sort of chamber where it's being fed light. It comes out of like a pool, in my mind, of liquefied light. I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but the little orbs, the 6 orbs above in the ceiling room, those are actual like little balls of light that we use against Golgoroth to power up your weapons or be able to do damage to the infusion, the tablets inside him, right? So the idea here is that you are consuming, or at least infusing, that light that he is supposed to have in being fed to him or gifted to him or being used to torment him, whatever it is, and you're using it against him. So that was sort of the influencer that went into a lot of, I guess, the dialogue or the script writing. But again, it's very difficult to really say this is so cut and dry because it is, one, just my interpretation. And oftentimes I have been wrong in the past, so I may not be 100% right on this one. I like to think that I'm right, but I don't know. I'm sure if I am completely wrong, I will get corrected, and I'm fine with that. But ultimately, I think it's very interesting that you have these worm gods that are really, I think, seeing the threat that we are, the threat that the Traveler is, and actively taking a sort of, set forward role in trying to help Oryx more than they've already done. And I think that's really interesting because technically they are losing the war, and they ultimately do lose the war. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see, because these worm gods are still out there, who is going to be their prophet, or who is going to be their tool to be used. So the future of Destiny, at least the Hive story, is still up for debate. What's going to happen? I think a lot of people like to theorize that obviously Oryx's two sisters that are still out there are going to come back at a certain point and potentially team up against us or something like that, right? We'll have to see for the future. The next video is definitely going to be on the daughters of Oryx, and then the final video, at least for King's Fall, will be on Oryx itself. And then I'll probably do a couple videos on Oryx because it's not that simple. It's not just that one video. And then I'll probably jump into the Books of Sorrow at that point and then cover anything else. So hopefully that'll keep me occupied for pretty much a couple months here. But if you guys liked the video, let me know. If you didn't like it, let me know too. I'll have a link in the description, annotations on screen. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate the support, and I will see you guys all next time. Peace. Welcome back, Guardians. In this report, we will cover one interpretation of the fearsome ogre Golgoroth. Oftentimes, reports and information can be cut and dry, simplistic. Other times, there is room for doubt and potential misinformation. The Hive, their worm gods, and Oryx